Hi folks, this is Gabe at Security Baron, and I've had an idea, a belief, a conception, a conviction, one might say, that you're into simplicity. So today I'm reviewing the Notion home security system. In today's review of the Notion Starter Kit, I want to go over what you get in this system, how easy and convenient it is to set up, the professional monitoring options, the customer support, and finally the mobile app so that you have all the information you need to make the right decision. If you'd like to see a list of our favorite home security systems, Google Security Baron Best Home Security Systems. If you have a question about today's review, leave us a comment and I'll get back to you. I want to begin today's review of the Notion Starter Kit talking about the components, beginning with the Notion Bridge. Now the bridge covers 1,800 square feet and it serves as the hub for your Notion security system, allowing each of your sensors to interact with the Notion app. Now I do want to note that Notion does recommend that you get a Notion Bridge for each one of your floors because it does serve as a range extender to make sure that every part of your system is connected to every other part. The entirety of the rest of your Notion system is comprised of these sensors. Now the starter kit comes with 3 and a magnetic accessory for sliding doors and windows, but this little sensor here can detect glass breaking, motion, heat, sound, and it's an entry sensor. You put it on your door, your window, and you're ready to go. And that is what's really impressive about the Notion system, is that you can order these individually or in packs of 3 and know that you're gonna get all the things you wanna know about what's going on in your house in one piece. So this is what you get in your Notion Starter Kit. So now that we've talked about all the components of the Notion security system, let's talk about that installation process. Now, the setup for the Notion is pretty easy. It's pretty straightforward. You're gonna have that mobile application downloaded and begin by plugging in your bridge. So make sure your bridge is connected to your Wi-Fi. It takes less than a minute, and then you'll jump into setting up your sensors. Now, right there in the mobile application is where you set up your sensors. So once your bridge is ready to go, you go and put the sensor, it says add sensor, and you'll assign it tasks. So the first one I did was just a door sensor, kept it simple. I didn't assign it any more tasks, but I could have been like, you know what, I also wanna know what the temperature is around my door. And that is what I did with my second one. I just said, hey, let's just have this be a temperature sensor in the middle of the room. So now I know in this part of the room near my couch, this is what the temperature always is. So then I started to stretch things out a bit with my third sensor, which I put on a window. And then I said, I wanna know if it's a water leak in here, and I also wanna know the temperature, and I wanna know if someone is opening and closing this window, because you can assign multiple tasks to each sensor with your Notion Starter Kit. And when it comes to orientation and where you place it, it isn't that complicated because the Notion sensor will actually calibrate to wherever you put it. So overall, in terms of both a digital and physical installation process, it was really easy with the Notion Starter Kit. Now that we've got everything up and running, let's talk about professional monitoring and your Notion security system. And while there is no professional monitoring with the Notion security system, we like to see the option to have that 24/7 team of professionals ready to help you out with anything going on in your home, and that's not gonna happen. With Notion, it's all gonna be self-monitoring. And what's really also an issue for us with the Notion security system is the lack of cellular backup. So if you're doing all the self-monitoring yourself, that's one thing, but if your power goes out and you can't do any self-monitoring because there's no cellular backup, that's another thing. So no cellular backup and no professional monitoring with the Notion security system. Now let's move on to customer support with the Notion security system. Now there are 3 ways to get in contact with Notion and get the help you need. You've got an online form, you've got an online support center, and you can just give them a call. Now in our experience, we had a number of questions for Notion and we wrote them an email essentially, and they got back to us within 2 hours, which we thought was actually really impressive because, you know, we did have some questions about various things and they got right back to us. Now, we also want to know what are other people saying about Notion. You know, it is a newer company and there are a few Amazon reviews out there, and we actually just found 3 reviews that specifically mentioned customer service, and 2 of those 3 were positive. So we don't think that's necessarily a great representation of how the company will fare in the future related to customer support. We do want to mention that overall on Amazon, they got 4.1 out of 5 stars. And of course, we had a positive experience, but we really can't speak too much on a more general customer support experience when it comes to the Notion security system. Now let's move on to the mobile application with the Notion security system. Now, what you want out of a mobile app is really twofold. You want it to really help facilitate the installation process of each of the components of your system and also be an intuitive way to control your system. And in my experience, Notion does both of those things. When you're adding sensors to your system, you do it all right there in the app. You designate what you wanted to focus on, and it was really solid in terms of an experience because it was seamless and I was done with the installation process really quickly. And then when it comes to actually looking at things in the app, I also found it to be pretty intuitive. Maybe not the most intuitive app I've used, but I definitely was ready to go instantaneously. So those are my experiences, but let's look at what other people were thinking in the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store, beginning with what I was using, an iPhone. iPhone users gave it a 4.2 out of 5 star rating in the App Store, which is really solid. And it's actually pretty solid in the Google Play Store with a 3.5 out of 5 star rating, but that is significantly less. And so we looked into why that was, and it's because a lot of Android users actually complained about the app crashing on their phones. And that's really problematic. You need to be able to see what's going on in your home security system, especially a system like Notion that relies on self-monitoring. However, one thing that we noted that was a very positive sign was that Notion had responded to each one of these customer reviews relationship to the app crashing. So that's really what you want to see from a home security company, is they're really on the ball with responding to their customers' concerns. So now that we know how I feel about the app and what others feel about the app, let's look at the Notion mobile application on my iPhone. So let's look at the Notion mobile application. Now, if you note on the home page, you get all your sensors right there, obvious. So I have 3 sensors set up because those are the 3 sensors I got in my starter kit. We've got the entrance sensor, which for me is actually on a window. And for that window, I wanted to know what was the temperature, whether or not there was a water leak, and whether or not the window is opened or closed. So here, you can get all that information right there. And that's impressive because basically you assign tasks to each of your sensors with the Notion security system. So, for 2 of my devices, I just have temperature or whether or not the door is open. But for that one, I was like, let's go a little bit deeper. I want to know if water is getting into my place or if the window is open. And I just want to know what the temperature will be there. So you can go in and look at the task details. You can check whether or not you are let known about something at a temperature above or below, which is really useful. And you can send alerts when home, send alerts when away, send alerts at night. So I'm gonna take off, for example, the send alerts when home because I can just look when I'm at home and know what's going on. But I do wanna get those alerts when I'm away or even at night. Now, if I go to the Door app, you see here are my task details. I can check out the task details or just look at how things have been going on with my app. Now, for the purposes of shooting, sometimes we connect and disconnect the app, but you can get an idea of how well it works and functions just from what happened today and earlier this week. Now, if I were to tap on the account button below that, it would just give me details on my account with Notion, or I can go to System, and System has a little bit more. You got your general info. I named the system the Barron Zone. I'm located in Brooklyn. Then I can go to Sensors on the top. Tells me the signal strength. Once again, the bridge covers 1,800 square feet. We have far fewer than that right here. And then we have the bridges. And I've only got 1 bridge attached, and you can see that it's connected. If I wanted to add a bridge, I tap on Add Bridge at the bottom. Go into my settings. 1, what are the network outage notifications, and when is it nighttime? And to the right of that, you have your various integrations. Finally, you can go into support. Support, you have frequently asked questions, general feedback. You can say if something isn't working, and there's even an open source link. So go back to that home page. You'll note that just the Notion security system has a lot of functionality in terms of letting you know what's going on in your home. You can assign various tasks to each of your sensors, and that's really useful for getting a complete picture of your home environment. So that's me checking out the Notion security system mobile application. Now that we've thoroughly reviewed every element of the Notion security system, let's just talk the pros and cons. Well, it is a aesthetically pleasing home security system that actually has the functionality to back it up. You get heat, motion, glass break, entry detection from this really beautiful sensor, and those are things you're not going to get from an entire home security system, let alone just one sensor. And on top of that, you get integrations with IFTTT and Nest. So in terms of the functionality of the Notion system, that's really beautiful. Now, some of the cons are that it doesn't have professional monitoring, it doesn't have that cellular backup that we've come to expect from our home security systems, and it doesn't have a video component that integrates into the mobile application. That being said, my personal take is that I can probably learn to live with those things, because in terms of getting a complete picture of the environment of my home, the comings and goings, you're really not going to beat the Notion home security system. With just this bridge and just a few sensors, I know exactly what's happening in my home, with the exception of actually seeing what's happening inside my home. So in that sense, I really, really like the Notion home security system. So that concludes our review of the Notion Starter Kit. If you appreciate today's video, give us a like, hit that subscribe button. As always, this is Gabe Security Baron. Be secure.